When an alien warship seizes Earth's orbit, it disregards a seemingly harmless janitor trapped aboard. But what they ignored may doom them or save them all. He had always known how to make himself invisible. Not in the superhero kind of way, but the kind that came from being background noise, quiet, useful, and unnoticed. Derek Lorne was a janitor. A humble, disciplined man working on Orbital Maintenance Platform 12A, stationed just a few thousand miles above Earth. His job was to clean, inspect, and report anomalies in the outer modules of the station. Nobody listened to his reports. Nobody cared about his opinions. But he kept doing it, because that's what janitors did. And that's exactly why the alien warship didn't see him coming. It began with a tremor, not from the platform but from beyond. Derek had just clipped himself to an exterior strut, polishing a fogged sensor dome when a shudder rippled through the station's structure. He felt it before he saw it. A dark shadow loomed over Earth, blotting out the sun, and when he looked up, his heart forgot to beat. The alien vessel was massive, hundreds of kilometers across, shaped like a vast crescent blade with strange ridges that shimmered against the void. The surface moved, flowed, like molten obsidian, alive with fractal patterns. And in the center of the crescent, a glowing eye, pulsing with green energy. Within seconds, the station's systems were fried. Derek's comm went dead. Artificial gravity failed. Lights blinked out. Then arcs of alien energy lashed toward the orbital platform. Derek tried to return through the emergency hatch, but a shockwave knocked him off balance. His tether snapped. He spun into darkness, just as a blue beam from the warship engulfed the station, swallowing it in one bite. The next thing he knew, he wasn't spinning. He was lying in a corridor, not one he recognized. The walls were organic, veined like muscle, and pulsing faintly as if the ship itself breathed. He groaned, standing up slowly. No suit damage, no burns, just confusion. They had taken him, or rather scooped him up by accident. He should have died. But maybe they hadn't noticed him clinging to the platform. Maybe, to them, he was just a piece of debris. He stumbled through the corridor, cautious. No alarms, no sirens, no resistance. He found an alcove, some kind of observation chamber, and peered through its transparent wall. The view made his knees weaken. Earth was far below, and above him stretched the monstrous interior of the ship. He could see others, figures in armor at least 3 meters tall, moving like silent giants. The KYRR. That was what the news had called them when the first signals were intercepted. Humanity barely understood them. Some thought they were explorers, others invaders. Now it was obvious they were conquerors. The humans had no chance. But they'd missed one thing. Derek. For days, at least what he assumed were days, he evaded detection. He crept through ducts, scavenged food from strange gelatinous machines that dispensed sustenance to KYR soldiers, and slept in maintenance alcoves too small for their massive frames. He watched them, learned from them. The KYR didn't speak with mouths. They communicated in pulses of bioluminescent flashes and subharmonic tones. Derek, a janitor who had spent years listening to faulty air filters and deciphering equipment hums, began to recognize patterns. He noticed something else. The warship was decaying. Not physically, it was still intact, but internally. The systems were glitching. Lights flickered unnaturally. Entire corridors grew dark for hours. A green fluid leaked from key conduits. And the KYRR, those proud warriors, were uneasy. They didn't sleep anymore. Some began fighting among themselves. Derek wasn't sure why, until he found the core. He had followed a dying drone into a deeper section of the ship, an area no KYRR had entered in days. The walls there were blacker, wetter, and pulsed with frantic energy. And at the heart of that madness, a sphere, Floating in the center of a chamber the size of a cathedral, the sphere radiated thought. Not heat, not light, thought. It spoke without words. It showed him visions of KYR history, of their wars across galaxies, of their failed conquest of a species known only as the Ashen. The Ashen had infected the KYR's minds. Not with weapons but with an idea, a virus of thought. And now it had awoken inside the warship. The KYR couldn't process it. Their neural links were short-circuiting. Their rigid minds couldn't adapt. They were breaking apart. But Derek could. Because he wasn't linked. Because he thought differently. Because he cleaned up messes. The sphere revealed more. It wasn't KYRR technology. It was a remnant of the Ashen. A fragment they had failed to destroy, which had embedded itself in the warship's core like a parasite. And now it was growing, consuming them from within. Derek did the only thing he could. He started cleaning, not with mops or sprays, but by tracing the flow of energy, identifying the corrupted nodes, bypassing them, isolating failing conduits, rebalancing temperature flows. He wasn't an engineer. But years of making old stations function with duct tape and wrenches had taught him enough. And this ship, organic or not, had systems like any other. The more he worked, the more the sphere watched him. Then, it tested him. He heard voices, saw memories that weren't his. He walked through ghostly simulations of the Ashen's final moments. He saw their fall, their pride, their endless hunger for perfection. The sphere wanted to know if he was like them. Derek wasn't. He knew how to fail and fix things. That was the difference. When the KYRR finally found him, they didn't come to destroy. They begged. Through light and hum, they begged him to stop the sphere. But it was too late for that. The sphere was awake, and it spoke directly to him. I am memory, it said in flashes. I am design. You are entropy. Why do you persist? Derek stood before it, tired, grease-streaked, eyes raw. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a leader. But he was human. I fix things, he said aloud, even though he knew it heard everything. You are not a creator. No. But I know how to patch things up when creators screw them over. The sphere surged. Darkness swallowed the chamber. The temperature plummeted. You cannot cleanse thought, it whispered in his mind. No, Derek said, stepping forward, holding the salvaged KYR neural core he had reprogrammed. But I can overwrite it. He plunged the core into the sphere's base. For a second, everything went silent. Then the ship screamed. It wasn't a sound, but a ripping, seismic tear of consciousness. Lights went white. Derek was flung backward, and the sphere cracked. Like glass under pressure, it shattered into shards of green light. And just like that, the infection ended. The KYRR fell silent. Then one of them, its armor burned, its face cracked, approached him. Slowly, with deliberate grace, it bent one knee. A gesture of submission, respect. Derek just nodded. He didn't care about titles. The ship was no longer decaying. It had stabilized. The KYR's minds were clearer. And Earth, still unaware, remained untouched, uninvaded, because one janitor cleaned up a cosmic mistake. They offered to take him home. He declined. Instead, he asked for tools. He had work to do. He walked the halls now openly. The KYRR stepped aside. Some whispered in clicks and tones that he was the purifier, the soft hand, or the one who binds. He didn't need a legend. He had mops, wires, and stubbornness, and an entire warship to clean. Because Derek Lorne wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was humanity's first ambassador to the stars. And the only one the aliens would ever dare trust.